Assalamualaikum and good day. Our group will be discussing on the topic of dismissal due to the abuse of authority. Meet the group members Faiza, Amna, Nurin, Felicia, Hajar and Jinfu. So now, let us talk about the facts of the case Chan Chong Sing versus Sri Jalutung Palm Oil Mill, Sendirian Berhad, decided in 2025. Chan Chong Sing joined Sri Jalutung Company in January 2018, and over 5 years he was promoted in acting senior manager mill. However, in August 2023, 3 allegations were made against him, leading to his dismissal in September 2023 due to the abuse of authority and unprofessional conduct. The claimant is employee Chan Chong Sing. His position is acting senior manager mill, who is responsible to oversee mill operations. The employer is Sri Jalutung Palm Oil Mill Sendirian Berhad, a palm oil processing company. So, what was the conflict? The company accused Chan of 3 serious acts of misconduct. First, the public shaming incident. On August 11, 2023, Chan forced a foreign worker to stand at the mill entrance for 2 hours long, holding a placard saying, "I am lazy, I don't follow SOP." This was done where everyone at the company could see him. To make it worse, Chan also took photos and shared them in a WhatsApp group, which has clearly violated the employee's dignity and the company policy. Chan tried to justify this by saying the worker has neglected his duty in monitoring boiler water quality, which could cause serious safety hazards. He claimed that he gave the workers options and the worker himself chose this punishment. Second misconduct was Chan allegedly threatened staff, saying they would be fired under new management. Lastly, Chan also terminated the canteen operator with only 24 hours notice with no backup plan for the workers' meals, ignoring his superiors' instructions. So next, I will pass to Nurin.
Now, I'll be explaining about the issues of law, which are the main legal questions the court had to decide for this case. First, the court had to decide whether the misconduct complained of by the company has been established. The company accused the claimant of 2 main acts of misconduct, which were: first, publicly shaming an employee by making a foreign worker stand at the weight bridge and hold a sign saying he was lazy and didn't follow SOP. This was seen as humiliating and a clear violation of the worker's dignity. Second, the claimant was accused of terminating the canteen operator without prior notice or proper planning. This caused inconvenience to the worker and was done without consulting the management, which further complicated the situation. Thus, the court need to determine if the evidence was enough to prove these allegations. Next, the second question the court had to decide is whether the proven misconduct constitute just cause or excuse for the dismissal of the claimant. Even if the misconduct was proven, the court still need to assess if it was serious enough to justify the dismissal. This is because the claimant argued that his actions were within his managerial duties. He also claimed that the foreign worker had neglected his duties and the termination of the canteen operator was done after consulting others. However, the company argued that the claimant's action went beyond acceptable managerial conduct. They stated that the claimant's action caused disruption, violated company policies, and also had the potential to harm the company's reputation. Thus, the court need to decide if the claimant's misconduct, even if proven, was sufficiently serious or not to warrant dismissal. That's all from me. Next, I'll pass the presentation to Faiza.
Now, I will be explaining the legal principle that the court used to determine whether misconduct has been established. So, the first legal principle applied is the statutory framework under Section 20, Subsection 3 and 30, Subsection 5, Industrial Relations Act 1967. Under Section 20, Subsection 3, an employee who claim wrongful dismissal may refer the dispute to the industrial court, and once the case is here, the employer carry the burden of proving the misconduct. Meanwhile, Section 30, Subsection 5 require the court to decide case based on equity, good conscience, and the substantial merit rather than strict technical rule. This means court look at the fairness, evidence, and the real justice behind the dismissal. Together, this section form the foundation for determining whether the employer has successfully established misconduct. The second legal principle applied is the burden of proof and the Basel test. The employer must justify the dismissal as the confirmed in Stanford Executive Center, Vidarsini, to evaluate whether misconduct is proper proven. The industrial court often use the Basel test, which asks, first, did the employer honestly believe the employee was guilty? Second, were the reasonable ground for that belief? And last one, was a fair and adequate investigation conduct? This ensures allegation of misconduct are proven through objective and reasonable steps. The last legal principle applied is domestic inquiry and national justice. Domestic inquiry (DI) ensure the employee has a fair chance to be heard. However, the case like Wong Yung Hock and Dreamland Corporation established that even if the DI was flawed, the court may rehear the case de novo. This means the court can independently examine all evidence under Section 30, Subsection 5 to decide if misconduct is truly established. So next, I will pass the presentation to Amna.
Now, I'll be explaining the legal principles the court applies when deciding whether the proven misconduct amounts to just cause or excuse for dismissal, which is the second issue. So, the first legal principle applied is the Milan Auto test. The leading authority is Milan Auto Sendirian Berhad v. Wang Se-Hien, which provides a two-stage test. Was misconduct proven? If yes, does it amount to just cause or excuse for dismissal? This framework ensures that even if misconduct is proven, the court must still decide whether dismissal was the appropriate response. The second legal principle applied is the proportionality principle. The industrial court applies the proportionality principle, which requires the punishment to match the seriousness of the misconduct. Dismissal is considered justified only when the misconduct is serious enough to destroy trust and confidence, disrupt workplace order, or breach fundamental company rules. If the misconduct is minor or correctable, dismissal may be viewed as excessive. The third legal principle applied is the higher duty of professional conduct for managers. Industrial jurisprudence recognizes that managers are held to higher standards due to the influence of their role on workplace discipline and organizational trust. Because of this, misconduct by a manager is assessed more strictly. Their actions carry greater weight in determining whether dismissal is warranted under the just cause or excuse standard. So, to summarize, these legal principles drawn from Section 20, Subsection 3 and Section 30, Subsection 5 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967 and established case law form the foundation used by the industrial court when deciding whether misconduct has been successfully proven and whether the proven misconduct amounts to just cause or excuse for dismissal. Next, I'll pass the presentation to Haja.
Now, I will explain about the judgment and decision made by the industrial court in the case. I will start with court final decisions. The industrial court upheld the dismissals of the claimant, which is Mr. Chains. The court ruled that the employer had just cause and excuse to terminate him. This means the dismissals was fair, justified, and lawful under industrial relation principle. This according to the case, which is Part 46 and Part 47. Based on the totality of the evidence adduced by the both party as well as the submission made without regard to technicality and legal form as stated under Section 30, Number 5 of the Act. This court held that the punishment of dismissal was warranted and the claimant dismissal was with just cause or excuse. Accordingly, the claimant claim is hereby dismissed. Why the court decide this way? There are three reasons. The first one is misconduct was proven. There are three misconduct. public shaming, threatening employees, terminating the canteen operator. We can see the evidence in this case, which is in the show post letter. It said that Mr. Chen do a public shaming to foreign worker by making him hold a humiliating signs and threatening employee with dismissal under the new management. And the last one is terminating the canteen operator without proper authority or notice. The court found that this act clear, excessive and against company rule. Number 2, violations of dignity and company policy. The claimant action were against company policy, abusive and humiliating, and abuse of managerial power, risk to the company reputations. Mr. Chen had a managerial position. He was expected to lead by example, use disciplinary action properly, and maintain workplace harmony. Instead, he acted beyond his authority, which made the misconduct even more serious. The court emphasized that human dignity must always be respected, especially for vulnerable groups that are like foreign workers. Number 3, the court held the employee had reasonable ground to believe the claimant was guilty. Thus, the dismissal was just cause and excuse. The court found that the employee had enough reasonable evidence to believe the employee was guilty of misconduct. This investigation was fair and this finding supported the company's action. Because of this, the court agreed that the employer had a valid reason to dismiss him. In the end, the industry court concluded that the employer acted appropriately. So, the dismissal of Mr. Chen was valid and justified. Next, I will pass the presentation to Jinfu.
Now, I will be explaining about the significance of the case. This case shows that the dignity at the workplace is non-negotiable. Managers cannot create their own forms of punishment, especially those that humiliate employees. Foreign workers must be treated equally with the same respect given to local workers. Even if the domestic equality DI has procedural flaws, the industry court can correct it. The case also makes clear that abuse of power by senior staff is sufficient ground for dismissal. This case will influence future workplace practice by strengthening standards against bullying and humiliation, encouraging employers to develop clearer and more consistent disciplinary SOPs, expanding protection for foreign workers, and reinforcing the employer's authority to dismiss employees when their misconduct affect workplace harmonies and the organization's reputation. That's all from us. Thank you.